Here we are for lesson 9. We're on page 69 in your book. This is really a review lesson. They want us to figure it out mentally. And there's tricks we can use, but the easiest way here is just to use your calculator. So the I can statements, I can find percentages of quantities like 12.5%, 0.4%, and I can understand that to find 0.1% of an amount, I have to multiply by 0.001. Remember, decimal to percent, we have to move, or percent to decimal, we have to remove that decimal 2 places to the left. Okay, so determine the percentage mentally. I'm just going to use a calculator. 10 divided by 50 is 0.2. Okay, so the answer is 0.2, which is a decimal. I need to turn that into a percent. So just times it by 100 or move the decimal over twice and fill in the blank with a 0. So it's 20%. Okay, 5 is what percentage of 50? Well, if 10 is 20, 5 is going to be half of 20, so it's going to be 10%. 1 is what percentage 50? Well, 10. From 5 to 1, we divide by 5, so 10 divided by 5 is 2%. And 17 is what percentage 50? So 17, I guess you could go 10 plus 20 plus 10 is 30. 30 plus, so it would be 1 10, 1 5, and 2 1s. So 20 plus 10 is 30, 30 plus 2 is 32, and 32 plus 2 more is 34%. Okay? So that's what they wanted you to do there. All right. During one waiter's shift, he delivered appetizers, entrees, and desserts. What percentage of the desserts were desserts, appetizers, entrees? What do your percentages add up to? So we first need to figure out all of the total amount. So 21 plus 10 is 31, and 31 plus 9 is 40. So overall, this server served 40 dishes. So we're just going to take each one of these dishes and divide it by 40. So 21 divided by 40, 21 divided by 40 is 0.525. Remember, we move it over twice, so it's 52.5%. Okay, then we do the same thing. 10 divided by 40 is 0.25, so move it over twice, it's 25%. And then 9 divided by 40, 9 divided by 40 equals 0.225. So we move it over twice, so 22.5%. Okay? And the total percentage should add up to 100. So if I go 52.5 plus 25% plus 22.5%, I should get 100%. Okay? So to find percentages of something, you just divide the number by the total amount and then times that by 100, or move the decimal over twice. Okay? Number 1 on 9.3, fractions of a percent. Find each percentage of 60. What do you notice about your answer? So all you need to do is of in math terms. If you ever see the word of, that just means multiply. We're going to multiply, multiply, multiply. So 30%, if I move the decimal over twice, that's 0.3 times 60. 0.3 times 60. No, not negative 3. 0.3 times 60 is 18. Okay, 3% would be, we move it over twice, it's 0.03. So 0.03 times 60 is 1.8. 0.3%, so if you notice, they're just moving the decimal over once. So 0.3 is 0.18, and then 0.03 is 0.018. Okay, so we just took and we moved the decimal over once, then again, then again. Okay. Number 2, 20% of 5,000 is 1,000, and 20% of 5,000 is 1,050. Find each percentage of 5,000 and be prepared to extend your reasoning. What I would do is I'd just type it in my calculator. Okay, 1% of 5,000, so 1% is 0.01 times 5,000. 0.01 times 5,000 is 50. Okay, this would be move it over twice, 0.001 times 5,000 is 5. 20.1%, so if we move the decimal over twice, it's 0.201. So 0.201 times 5,000 is 1,005. And then we move the decimal over again twice, 0.204. 0.204 times 5,000 is 1,020. Okay, so they wanted us to use the bar graphs if we needed to. I think the easiest way is just use your calculator. Turn your percents into decimals, and then just multiply the numbers. If you have one of the calculators at school, you can just use the percent button. That's the easiest. And 9.4, and then we'll be done. 9.4 is on page 72. It says the population of City A was approximately 243,000, and it increased by 8% in 1 year. Well, remember, we always start with 100%, so 100 plus 8 is 108%. So we're going to go 108%. If we move the decimal over twice, it's 1.08 times 243,000 people. So my calculator, 1.08, 108% times 243,000. I get 262,262, 440. Okay. Letter number 2. The population of City B was approximately 7,150,000, and it increased by 0.8%. So if we go 100% plus 0.8, it's 100.8%. So if we move the decimal over twice as a decimal, it's 1.008. And then we're going to multiply that by 7 million. So 1.008 times 7150000. And I get 7,207,200. Okay? So move the decimal over twice, multiply it, you're done. All right, let's look at the summary. Percentage such as 30% is a rate per 100. To find 30% of a quantity, we multiply 30 divided by 100, or 0.3. So we turn the percent into a decimal. We move the decimal over 2 spaces, or we divide it by 100. The same method works for percentages that are not whole numbers, like 7.8% or 2.5%. To find 2.5% of a quantity, we go 2.5 divided by 100, and we get 0.025. If we move that decimal over twice, if I take and I move it over twice, let's do it over here so that it's a little easier to see. So if I move it over twice, 0.025, okay? For example, to calculate 2.5% interest on the bank balance of 80, we would go 0.025 times 80, and we get 2, so the interest is $2. We can sometimes find percentages like 2.5% mentally by using convenient whole number percents. For example, 25% of 80, or 1/4 of 80, is 20, so then we just move the decimal over, is 2. Okay? Use your calculator. Don't try to do this in your brain. On your assignment today, we are going to do number 1 and number 2. So number 1, the student government snack shop sold 32 items. So my total amount here is 32. What's the percentages of everything else? So we're just going to go 8 divided by 32, move the decimal over twice, times it by 100. 6 divided by 32, times it by 100. 14 divided by 32, times it by 100. 4 divided by 32, times it by 100. Okay? Question number 2, select all of the options that have the same value as 3.5%. Well, 3.5 can also be written as 3.5% of 20, so there's one. We can turn 3.5% into a decimal, so move it over twice, 0.035 times 20. And maybe there's one more. We'll see. All right, remember, if you have any questions, let me know.